1 million cups. By a show of hands, how many people is this your first time at 1 million cups? Well, welcome. I hope you guys enjoy it. For those of you who have been here before, you kind of know what to expect. This is a venue for startups in our community to show you guys what cool stuff is being built here, and we can learn together how we can help them grow here in Tampa Bay. They will be presenting for 6 minutes each. Then there's 20 minutes of Q&A. That is your responsibility to ask the questions that will help them, whether it's refine their presentation, get new customers, make the connections to those folks they need. That's on you guys. And in exchange for that, our good friends at Cowa have provided us with free coffee. Thank you, Cowa. I am up here blathering, but this event is run thanks to a group of organizers, which include Marianne Bowers, Danielle Whitelaw, our dear friends Richard Wood, John Morrow, and Ruben Pressman, who are never here, but and also we could not do it without the assistance of Carly. One of the great things Carly does is put out a weekly email telling you about the companies that were here and presented and giving you links to all the events we'll talk about later. If you are not getting that email, there is a sign-in sheet somewhere around there. Just put your name and email address on there. We'll get you added to that list. We do have two really great groups today to present. I'm going to stop talking, turn it over to James Novi with Universal Athletics. Thanks, John.
Good morning, everyone. I'm James Dawson, and this is Obi Green. We're the co-founders of Universal Athletic Testing. First of all, I want to thank Sean and the other folks at 1 Million Cups for giving us the opportunity to come up here. Really excited to have the opportunity to present today. Just by a show of hands, I'm interested, how many folks in here have ever played a sport competitively, recreationally, or worked out, or anything like that? Good, that's good. The question that I have for you is while you were playing a sport or while you were working out, did you ever wonder, where am I in the grand scheme of things? So where am I as an athlete? How do I perform? How do I compare against others? Where am I on my team? Where am I against the competition? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? I think a lot of athletes have those questions, and up to this point, I don't know anything that's kind of been out there for an athlete to clearly say, okay, here's where I am as an athlete, here's who I want to be, here's where I want to go, how do I get there? So Universal Athletic Testing was created to answer one question: how athletic are you?
What are you training for? Are you trying to get to the next level? Are you trying to get ahead of the competition? Do you want to be better than you've ever been before? Before you know where you're going, figure out where you're at. With UAT, you can showcase your athletic performance by assessing your speed, power, agility, and endurance through our comprehensive tests and scoring scales. Once you know where you're at, you'll know what it takes to get you where you want to be. Know your strengths. Know your weaknesses. Know your competition. Know what it takes to reach your goals. So where are you at as an athlete? Knowing your UAT results will help you evaluate your current basic athletic ability, find areas for improvement, and help construct a plan for becoming a better athlete. Bridge the gap between performance and potential. Universal Athletic Testing, where athletes are put to the test.
Now, James, he posed the question, how athletic are you, or how athletic am I? And this platform is designed to answer that very question for us. Now, I want to give you guys a real-life example of how UAT is very instrumental in how it can be applied to everyday person at any level. Myself, when I was in high school and I was entering my high school year, I was in one sport athlete, basketball. It's pretty good, but I always wanted to play another sport. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play track or run track. The issue was I really didn't have a frame of reference as to where I compared to those sports because everything I did to that point was specific towards basketball. So every assessment that I did, every measurement that I took, was specific towards basketball. I couldn't say, hey, compared to my peers in football or on track, this is where I'm at. So for that reason alone, I decided not to partake in any of those sports until my last year. I excelled, and then I got the opportunity to play at a small school. Now, if I go back into that entry level, right when I was entering high school, and I said, hey, I am a 64, and as far as my physical ability, what UAT allows you to do is take away that factor of what sport do I play, what position I am, and just focus on your pure physical attributes. And with that, you can compare yourself to anybody. And if I said I was a 64 and my peers in this sport were 75s or a 67, I could say, hey, I'm not that far off. I am physically equipped to compete with these ones. These are the areas that I need to improve at. So then I would have been able to make a more educated decision as far as, hey, I think I can partake in this situation or in this sport. And then move on forward. And who knows, maybe I would have been at Florida State or UF, winning national championships, who knows. But the bottom line is, and the moral of the story, the reason why I tell this is, universal athletic testing is so great because it levels the playing field across the board.
Thanks, Toby. And that's one example and a personal example that he shared with us. But the question is, I think that we all struggle with this, is if I go to LA Fitness and I get a personal trainer and they're running me through different events and things like that at the gym and different exercises, how do I know that I'm getting better? I really don't. He's telling me that I'm getting better. Maybe I look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, man, I look great today. But in the grand scheme of athletics and performance, how do you judge that? How do you measure if you're getting better? And so universal athletic testing helps you go through an assessment, and then it's up to you or your trainer or your coach or whoever how often you want to go through that again. And every time that you do it, you can track improvement. You can look at the history and check where you've gone, and also say, here's where I want to be. How am I going to get there? I know where I need to be. How's it going to happen? So thank you very much for your attention on that. We're getting wrapped up. I actually feel like I'm in an athletic event right now. Yes, sir.
Could you describe your market? Who are you trying to get to, and how do you plan to do that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we thought about it a lot. We've been working on this for about 2.5 years, and it's a tough question to answer because it's such a broad spectrum that we're going towards. So the purpose, and I think what we're trying to get out of here today, is connections to facilities, coaches, athletic trainers, those types of people, because I think it needs to start there, to have some credibility and have them look at it and say, yeah, you know what, I train these people, but every day they show up, and every day I have a workout, and then they leave. And then they show up again the next day. And so what credibility do I have besides the fact that I played a college sport, or I played a professional sport, or I say that I'm really good and know what I'm talking about? But what credibility do I have to actually prove that what I'm doing is helping people get better? And so I think that they can use this technology to do that. So,
How do you measure it?
yeah, there's a scoring scale. You want to pull that up real quick? So there's a couple ways. So we created a scoring scale, okay? We did a bunch of research on NFL combine statistics, different events at different levels, and we created a broad spectrum and scoring scale for the individual user to be able to go in and take this assessment and get a score. You can get a score per event, and you can kind of toggle back and forth with the ones who say, okay, here's where I'm at right now with the 40-yard dash, but I really want to get here. So what score do I have to get here? So your results over here, your scores over here, and then it'll calculate everything together and give you a score at the bottom. Yes, sir.
So from your marketing side, just following that on your marketing, have you talked to IMG? You've got more trainers and more athletes.
Yeah.
Is this a product that's
Yeah.
definitely?
We haven't yet. I think that before we do something like that, we need to create a user base. So we need to get it out there. And we've just started marketing this to gyms. And the one response that we've got from gyms is, this is really, really cool. We really, really like this, and you're right. We have people come in and then they leave, and they simply leave having gotten the workout in, right? But how do we create credibility, and how do we have those athletes know that they're actually getting better, and what we're putting together is scientifically going to make them better? And they can use this. The one thing that we need to do is we need to allow them to be able to kind of make it their own, right? To kind of have the touch and feel of what they actually believe is the things that are going to do it. Because this is, what we've created is kind of generic in the grand scheme of things, right? So to be able to narrow it down, right now we're working on technology that will allow strength and conditioning coaches and other people to go in and kind of create their own deal. So if they have different segments of athletes, they can create each of them for each segment and kind of narrow down the playing field and make it their own.
So what you're saying is I could punch in like Michael Jordan and see what his score is and see where I'm at versus Michael Jordan, or
Well, unfortunately, Michael Jordan hasn't taken the
yes.
He's not returning the call. But believable.
Well, eventually that's where we want
Yeah.
to take this.
I see.
In the future, at a certain point, we're going to have an official database. So we'll need the IMGs of the world, we'll need the D1 sports of the world so that we can hold official testing events. That's where we'll open it up to the masses to come and take the universal athletic test officially. You can go on, make a profile, track your progress, create workouts, groups, all of that on your own, all unofficial. But eventually we'll have an official testing format where you can go take the test, you'll be entered into an official database, and then you can compare yourself to the Michael Jordans and the Obi Greens of the world.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons that we're marketing to facilities, and especially facilities that specialize in training like high-end athletes, like in IMG for NFL combines and things like that. Because what they could do is if Johnny Football came in and worked out there, they said, okay, over this 8-week period, here in the NFL, so they create this scoring scale based off the NFL Combine events. They put them through it the first day and say, hey, here's where you are, your overall score is a 71. It's not good enough, right? You want to be a first rounder. The first rounders are scoring in the high 80s. Here's the program that we're going to put together to get you there, and we're going to test you every 2 weeks for an 8-week period and get you up to that point. Now, that gym was able to get him from a 71 to an 86. Then all of a sudden they can market that and say, hey, college guys are going into the draft, look what we've been able to do with the guys that we sent there, right? The other thing that they can do is they train Johnny Football or an Obi Green, and then they've got, everyday average Joes like myself who just go in there and do the workouts. Well, I would be interested in going through the same assessment that a Michael Jordan or a Johnny Football did and say, how far off am I? I think I'm really good, right? My mom thinks I'm really good, no one else really does. So the question is, how can I go that to compare myself to that? Right now, you really can't do it in anything like that. But with this, you could, yes.
Do you have anything that measures growth potential? Because when I entered high school, 5'4", 105 pounds, and I couldn't even reach my locker.
Yeah.
So I had no clue what I was going to be.
I was in a similar situation as you as far as the growth goes, and we don't have anything on there yet. I think that as this grows and we get a more database and we get more into the general mainstream of gyms and stuff, it'd be interesting to get into things like tracking nutrition, tracking body fat, tracking growth potential, things like that. I know there's science out there that you can go in and they can say, we project you to be 6'2", but yeah, we don't have anything on there yet. Yes?
Do you have to pay to get an account on the website? Or
Yeah.
you
No, you don't. So as an individual user to use the generic test, you don't have to pay anything. It's free. You can go in. It's got all the social media capabilities. So if you wanted to go in and you wanted to challenge friends to a certain thing and share it with them, you can do that. You can post on Facebook, post on Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. So you don't have to. The revenue is going to be generated through subscriptions from facilities, right? So a facility, the technology that we're creating now is going to allow a facility to kind of create their own stuff and get creative with that and bring people in and generate revenue through that. And that's going to be a subscription basis for them to have that functionality. If you wanted to have this, you can go on and do it. And the main purpose of this, the main idea was to take the kid, and I use Maine, like Maine. It's not a heavily recruited state, believe it or not, that's too cold. But the kid up in Maine that turns on ESPN and watches the NFL Combine and says, man, I've never done anything like that, but I want to play linebacker at University of Florida. You know, how do I do that? What do I have to do to get there? I watch the Gators on TV and I think I can do it, you know, but how do I get there? Oh, here we go. I can go through this, and I know if I go through it and I score a 27, chances are I'm not going to play it for it, you know. But if I score a 65, maybe I go to my coach and say, hey, I went through this athletic test deal. I scored a 65. Can we use this as recruiting purposes to maybe have a coach come and take a look at me, or send a video and say, hey, here are his test results for this? So it creates a little bit of a way for a kid that really doesn't have anything else to be able to just go in and do it yourself. Yes?
Could this be something that you all use for like a summer athletic camp?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, some of the interest that we had from gyms and other facilities, that's what they want to do. They have these camps all the time. They come in, they pay their registration fee, they do their things, they leave. Well, it would be nice for them to have subscribe to the system where they can have their own criteria. Have them all in a database. It's never going to go away. And now you can compare them year after year when you come back. You have them all in. Like, so it's definitely something.
I even went to a football camp one time at college, and they did the 40-yard dash and a vertical jump and a shuttle run and things like that. But I never even knew the results. I never knew where I could win, and I'm like, how stupid is that? That was simply for the creative coaches to be like, all right, he's no good. He's good. Well, wouldn't it be nice for the athlete to actually take it and be like, oh man, out of 300 people, I ranked here. My score was a 37, but the highest score was an 87. Here's where I was good in the vertical, but I really stunk in 40. Well, I need to work on my speed. You know, I would have benefited a lot from leaving there and having that printout that kind of gave me a snapshot of where I was. Let's start over here.
Yeah, this might be a chicken and egg type of question. You said you haven't done any mass scale testing yet. How did you develop the scales and the grading system so people know where we're at? I mean, where are you comparing?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's the number one question that we get. And the answer to that is this. There's no, in athletics, in fact, backtrack a little bit, a few weeks ago we came here and there was a gal that got up and talked about standardized testing in academics, right? And the SAT, and she was trying to do a homeschooling and things like that. Well, athletics is kind of the opposite side of that spectrum, right? So there really is no standard test that does anything like that. So the credibility is minimal, right? But it allows someone to kind of go in certain events and get a score, and at the very least say, okay, I'm at a 50, okay? I want to get to a 65. And that's really all there is right now, right? That's the research that we've done and everything else. Is it credible? Yeah. How's it going to be credible? Create a huge database over years and get thousands of athletes of all different levels and all different sports and all different backgrounds and everything on here, and narrow that all down and then section it off from there and everything else. Can't do that right now. So what we needed to do is simply create something that allows the everyday person to go in there and do that. Now, facilities and things like that, they may have more records and probably have a better idea to be able to narrow it down to, hey, we're training this high school baseball team right now, right? Here's where we think they need to be, and here's where the bottom part will be, and here's where the middle needs to be. So they can create a scoring scale for their deal based on that, right?
Another company that presented here is Fitter. I don't know if you guys know Fitter, but their product tailor-makes workouts to achieve like a specific result based on where you're working out, whether it's a hotel room or a gym or
Oh, really?
So I wonder if there's an opportunity to find your score in some area and you want to raise it up to team with them to figure out what the appropriate workout.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea, especially someone who travels. I travel a lot, and it would be nice in a hotel room to have them create something, and then me be able to test myself over time. Be like, you know what? I'm getting just as much out of a hotel room as I am going to LA Fitness, and doing that. So that's great.
So where are your testimonials? Where are your successes? Tell us that this is a great product.
Well, we just started, so we don't necessarily have these testimonials yet. But what we're kind of tough to create something like this and just have individual people go in there and do it. So what we've decided is that our main step is to get gyms, right, to use it as their database to house their athletes' scores and results and everything, put them through there, and then our testimonials will be way above rather than going out to the individual marketplace and saying, hey, go in and do this, hey, go in and do this. So once you get the facilities doing it and they find it credible and it gives them credibility on what they're trying to achieve, then we'll have testimonials, you know, that are, you keep using credibility, but are more credible than the individual person saying, this is a lot of fun. That make sense?
Could you walk us through the test a little bit? Is it self-reporting, or are there objectives and measurables?
Yeah, so the actual homepage, we're not going to go into that, but we'll go back up to the top. So just to kind of walk you through, so you go through the homepage, and if you go to a facility, they're going to have all the tools to do this. If you're not, if you're the kid on the farm in Maine that's doing it yourself, we kind of give a tutorial of how you can go and just kind of take it by yourself. But here's how it is. So you would do a 40-yard dash, and hopefully you have someone time you can just do it on a stopwatch yourself, and you would enter your results. So let's say you do a 5.5. You want to come to that? So 5.5 seconds is your 40 score. Go to enter it, it gives you a score of 40. Now let's say that you want to get your score. Your buddy did it, he got a 65. So you can take this right here, and you can move it up to a 65. And that's going to give you 5.04 seconds. So that's what you would need to run in order to achieve that score. Okay? Then you can actually go, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but then there's a history tab. So every time you do it, it records it and it puts it in a graph. So you can see, and that scores a little all over the place, but you can see it in there so you can track where you've been and you can sort it by the actual event. So you're going to get an overall deal that you can track over time, and you're going to get an individual result that you can track over time. Yes?
So, I think your concept is great, personally. I think it makes a lot of sense. So, give the concept of what you put together is great. What's the next thing you guys need?
Yeah.
Where do you need to go next to help you get your business right?
Yeah, we need to get into facilities. We need to get into facilities. Yeah, we need to market this, direct marketing. So we work with a facility right now in Tampa that's on board. We just need to create the functionality, and we're working on that now for them to be able to go in and use their own stuff.
Are they beta or are they paying?
Excuse me?
Are they a beta site or are they paying?
They're paying. They're going to pay us. So they're going to be part of the subscription once we have this built, right? And so the good thing about this facility is that they train top pro athletes, they train guys for the combine, and they train everyday average Joes, right? And those are really the facilities that this is going to be the best for. For the top end athletes, I think that's really where they're going to narrow down to like their own specific thing, what they're going to do for that athlete. For the general population, they may actually use this if they think that the numbers and everything are incredible. If they don't, then they'll be able to go in and say, okay, for this section of people that we train, we're going to create this, we're going to create that. And for them, you know, them doing it, the one question we always get is, well, what credibility do you have? And the answer is that we really don't have much. You know, I can't go out and say, hey, I'm going to take the stopwatch and I'm going to prove that you're a great athlete. I can't do that. But a facility over time can put enough people through it and everything else that they can collect data and fine tune those numbers and also prove credibility right off the bat that people that they're training are actually getting better.
So this facility is not asking for exclusivity with you?
No.
So you can take it to other facilities?
Yes, sir. The other thing that they're endorsed by Adidas, which I think in the long run, if we can get into facilities, and Adidas endorses a lot of different facilities, it would be nice to have a backing like that, you know, and have access to people like that could even more enhance the credibility that we have.
Just a suggestion, I don't know if my school student is your market or if it's just the gyms, but you know, if you get grassroots use, it's just to get people on the system to get data. Just offer to high school, say, hey, we're going to do a free testing day.
Yeah.
And advertise it to all the school. And I know at my high school, there was always a board of, you know, who could do the most push-ups, chin-ups, all that. Just say, hey, see how you rate your school, and then we'll share it free. So
It is, and I think that from a value standpoint, well, wouldn't it be nice the day that you walk through the door freshman year in high school as this 5'4", 120-pound guy, to be able to go in and say, okay, I scored a 22 on this test, and then all of a sudden you mature throughout the 4 years of high school and you graduate, and you're like, I just scored an 82. You know, look how much I've grown. And then you're that strength and conditioning coach, and you're like, man, I'm at the school, and you know, people are coming in and we say, hey, look at our average growth over 4 years for the, you know, for the protocol that we put together for those athletes. So you're right. I think that it's very, very hard for Obi and I to go in and say to a high school, hey, let us do this, because we're not coaches. We're not strength and conditioning.
I don't know that is though. If you start local, like say, start with CP High and be like, hey, we're
Yeah.
starting a new company. We want to do one day where we have to advertise all that.
Yeah.
You probably have a couple